Howdy, this is Karen from KarenDawn Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to knit in the round using 2 circular needles. To work a small circumference in the round using 2 circular needles, you will need 2 circular needles. I do not have needles that are very long cables, so usually about a 16-inch. Maybe even 24-inch. You don't really want a really long set of circular needles. And for this example, I am using needles that have 2 different tips. So over here, I have 1 set of needles, and over here I have a second set of needles. I'm doing that to show you the differences between the 2 needles, but I also recommend that if possible, you try some type of differentiation between your 2 needles to go ahead and make sure you always keep straight which needle is which. Using one of your circular needles, go ahead and cast on all of the stitches that you need for your project. For this example, I have cast on 20 stitches using a long tail cast on. The next thing you want to do is take your other set of circular needles. So you can tell my tips are different. Take your other set of circular needles and you want to work the first half of the stitches on your needle. Since I have 20 stitches, that means I want to work 10. And for this example, I'm just going to knit. So I'm going to knit 10 stitches. And again, I'm using 2 different circulars, one in my left hand and one in my right hand. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what I have done is I have split my stitches between these 2 needles. So I want to continue working with the stitches on this needle, and so that means that these stitches are going to become inactive. So what I'm going to do is actually take those stitches and push them off the needle and onto the cord, and then just let that cord drop. And since we're going to be knitting in the round, if you want to go ahead and turn it so it faces that way, so it's in the round, that might be easiest. Then what you want to do is use the other end of this circular needle. So the stitches that you are about to work, find the other end of that circular needle. So you can see I've just brought my cable around. Again, you can ignore the stitches on the other needle right now and go ahead and knit the next stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and knit these 10 stitches and come back and show you what to do. I need 1 more stitch to work from this needle, so I'm going to go ahead and knit that. Oops. Knit that stitch. Then you can let that left needle drop, and you want to take these stitches and move them from the needle down to the cable. And now we're going to join these 2 sides so we are working in the round. And notice that if you are doing this method, you have already knit 1 round. So depending on your pattern, make sure that you keep that in mind, that you've already worked the first round. So now what we need to do is knit these stitches back here. So turn them so they are in the front. You want to slide your cable until those stitches are on the needle. So go ahead and slide them up onto the needle, and some of them, especially toward the back, might be a little tight, so push them on up. And you'll notice that now I am working on my other circular needle. And I want to grab the end that matches with that circular needle. So again, you can see my tips match. You want to bring this yarn around, double check, make sure you are not twisting. Then make sure also that you are not wrapping this yarn around your cord at all. So it's just coming directly from back there. And you're going to knit the first stitch on this needle. Might be a little tight. Okay, so go ahead and wrap the yarn. Now what you want to do here is make sure that you're not leaving too much of a gap. You also want to make sure you're grabbing the right stitch. You're not leaving too much of a gap. So you want to pull a little tightly here. And then also when I knit the second stitch, I give a little tug and knit that one a little more tightly. So go ahead and work to the end of this needle. So I have one more stitch to work on this needle. So I'll go ahead and knit that. And then let this side drop. Slide the stitches onto the cable. Let that drop. Turn the work around because now we want to work on the next set of stitches. Slide those stitches up to the needle. And notice now we are working with the other circular needle. And again, this might be a little tight. Give the stitches a push. So push the stitches down on the needle. Again, make sure you are working with the same circular needle. So the one that matches this one. So go ahead and pick up the other end and work the stitches using these needles. And this is the same thing that you want to do going all the way around. You are always working with one circular needle at a time, so the one whose ends match. When you finish working the stitches from that needle, you drop this one, slide the stitches to the cable, and pick up the second circular needle and work the stitches on that needle. You never want to mix up your ends, so do that here. You never want to mix up and knit stitches from one circular needle to the other circular needle. You always want to stay with the same circular needle. So that is one reason why I recommend, especially starting out, that you use two different needles or different enough that you can tell that you are always working with the same circular needle. So I worked to the end of the pink needles, and now I am back around to the next round on the multicolored needles. And again, I am seeing a little bit of a gap right here. So when you knit this first stitch, you want to just give it a slight extra tug to tighten that gap. And then when you knit the second stitch, you can do the same thing, a little extra tug. So again, you just keep working around and using your two circular needles, one circular at a time. Thank you for watching this tutorial video. I hope you found it helpful. If you would like to check out more knitting tutorials, you can find other videos on my channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that way you can be notified whenever new videos are posted. Thank you for watching, and happy knitting!